Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Career Quest September. My name is Hank. I am one of the employee relations partner in our career professional development office. If this is your first time joining one of our Career Quests, welcome. We will have several other sessions going on throughout the month, so please check those out. You can find those located in a handshake. We will be sending out this recording after the end of the session, so be on the lookout for that via email. And along with that, we will have a short 1 to 2 question survey that if you could take a few minutes to complete that, that would give us some great feedback. Well, without further ado, I would like to pass this off to John to talk a little bit more about Skillstorm.
Great. Thanks so much, Hank. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody from WGU, whether you're currently in school or you're actually an alum. It's an honor to speak to you and let you know about what Skillstorm does and how we do it. Our On this first page, you'll see the term accelerating opportunity, and that's our company motto. And our company motto is to accelerate the opportunity for individuals to gain access and gainful employment in the IT industry. And that's what we do. And I like to think that we do it very well. Um, my name is John Tansel. I'm the director of veteran affairs at Skillstorm. Jasmine, who's not on the call, obviously, she's one of our recruitment team leads for the military. Don't be taken aback if you're not in the military. Don't worry, because I wear two hats at Skillstorm. I do run all the veteran programs at Skillstorm, but I also help out on the university side quite often. Probably 35 to 40% of my time is spent working with different universities. And one of the biggest ones and most successful I work with is Western Governors. And a lot of that I attribute to the relationship I have with Hank, and how we can continually communicate with each other about opportunities that we have, and then he getting those opportunities out to the alumni and the soon to be graduates. I spent 28 years in the Marine Corps. I was 10 years of active duty, 18 years in the reserve. I have been in the IT space for 10 years now, uh, getting in transitioning service members, veterans, reservists, National Guardsmen, and college graduates into the IT industry via training, and then actual employment. I've been with Skillstorm for 4 years out of that 10. About Skillstorm, we've been around since 2002, so we're 22 years old. Uh, which is the reason I like to make sure that you all know that, so you don't think that we're a startup and good gosh, are they going to be in business next week? Yes, we will be. And As a matter of fact, from 2002 till 2010, we were the third fastest growing government contractor in the United States. Anyway, since 2020, since COVID, we've placed over 3,000 consultants with Fortune 500 companies. We have different military programs. Anytime you see military programs, you can also add colleges to that too, uh, obviously, and to include yours. And we are an official training partner with Microsoft, with AWS, with CompTIA, which is cyber, with Salesforce, and we're also an official training partner of the Project Management Institute. We have three major programs or areas that we deal with. Tech Force by Design, the one on the far left, that is the one I'm going to talk about the most today. Is Tech Force by Design. That is the one for people with a bachelor's degree. And You do already have to know how to code in order to get into that program. And I will talk more about that uh, in a next slide or two. Um, Intro to coding. The reason I always put this slide up is that in order to get into Skillstorm, if you say, "Oh, this sounds like a good opportunity for me," I'd like to try to do that. Um, I always recommend that people take a look at our Intro to Coding course, which is a free 90-hour self-paced course. It's not instructor led; you do it yourself. But even if you majored in computer science or you majored in engineering, and you can already code. Um, Everything we do at Skillstorm, you have to be able to pass our vetting process. So if a recruiter calls you up after you've applied, he's going to have a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation with you, and he's going to be, he or she is going to be determining your soft skills, your ability to communicate well. If that first conversation goes well, they're going to send you an email with a link to it, and you're going to take an aptitude or a critical thinking test. I think it's 20 or 21 questions, and if you pass that and that goes well, they're going to call you back and they're going to say congratulations, you passed the aptitude test, and they're going to set you up on a interview with one of our trainers. And we have at Skillstorm, we can train in over 76 different technologies, and we have 24 of our own trainers that are employees of Skillstorm. So this is not outsourced. This is legitimate Skillstorm employees that are going to be training you. Again, we can train in 74 different technologies. And the other thing too is that I might as well explain to you now is our training is not good. Our training is outstanding. We train for 25 major universities in the United States. We train for the University of Tampa, the University of Nebraska, North Dakota State, Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Pomona, Mount St. Mary's in Maryland, New Jersey Institute of Technology, UNC Charlotte, the University of Tampa, FIU, Florida International University. We also train for Ball State and Indiana Wesleyan in Indiana. So we train our certification courses for these schools, and these same instructors that are teaching those are teaching you Tech Force by Design.
Hey,
So
hey,
I want
John.
to, yes.
We're not able to see your screen. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, can you see Intro to Coding?
No.
Oh,
Right now it's just showing your PowerPoint, the overview of the screen.
oh, what is that? Let's see. Can you see it now? Nope.
Let's see. If you want to hit the presentation button, and you should be able to click it up to the right, to the left-hand side,
Wait, the present,
all the way.
left,
Yes,
the right hand side or left hand side?
the left-hand side, excuse me. Up there is a
Okay.
little stand up there.
You see it now?
So it's not in the presentation mode. Um,
Oh,
that's what they're not seeing on their end.
hold on a minute.
Yeah, so up there to the left, you should be able to double click on that one.
Double click on
Yep,
this.
yeah, where you're at now. Yep, that.
Any luck?
So it's
No
looking,
luck.
no, so it's looking like your window is being shared there.
Hmm.
Let's see, because I see it there. That one you should be able to drop if you click on the little caret to the right. Or yep, what option does it give you?
Automatically say save, undo, redo. Preview. Not much. Automatically save new, open, save, email, quick. Would you want to bring up the slide deck that I emailed you? Would
Yes.
that be better?
Yep.
All right.
No, I never got the email.
No way. Hold on. Did you get it?
No, it's not coming over.
Oh, it's not.
No.
That's
If you can expand your screen for, and if you don't mind, we could just send out the PowerPoint to everyone so they'll see it. That would be something that we can do just to kind of move along this session there.
yeah.
You should be able to click through it and just make your screen a little bit bigger. Should work. If you just want to kind of go through, I know it's going to take a little bit of time, so just kind of go through your session, and
Yeah.
I'll
I'll
include.
just go.
Yep, I'll just
I'll go
include it.
through it.
Yeah, I'll include it with the presentation. Sorry, everyone.
All
Go
right.
ahead, John.
I, I apologize. We, believe it or not, Anthony and I did this morning at 10 o'clock and it worked. So I apologize. But anyway, the intro to coding, the reason which is the 90-hour free course that we have available. No, by the way, all you have to do is put your name, your email, and your phone number in, and it'll let you in. Is that with that course, as I said, the vetting process is pretty tough. And as I said, the recruiter, if you pass the aptitude test, they're going to call you up and they're going to say, "Congratulations, you passed the aptitude test. We're going to set you up on what we call a tech screen. It's an interview with one of our trainers, of which we have 24. And again, our trainers are not good; they're outstanding. And that that tech screen is probably going to be one of the, unless you wore a uniform at one point in your life, that's probably going to be one of the worst 30 minutes of your life. And I jokingly say that, but it's a tough 30 minutes because you're going to get, it's not an interview, it's an oral quiz. And they're going to be asking you tech question after tech question for 30 minutes. And then you get graded on it. The thing is that, guess what? A lot of the questions that they're going to be asking you come from intro to coding. So if I was teaching a military class right now, I'd stomp the ground 3 times going, "Hey, you know what? Ixnay, I think you better pay attention to intro to coding." And for those that are majoring in computer science or already know how to code, which you'd have to have the ability to do before you can even try to get into Tech Force by Design, this is that a lot of it's going to cover object-oriented programming, which is the base language for C++, .NET, Python, and Java. Um, but the thing is that you might have had that as a freshman, and we only have a 34% pass rate on our tech screens for computer science majors. And I do not say that to scare you. I say that to prepare you. Um, if you saw our client base where you have the potential to go to work, it's companies like Deloitte, it's companies like Accenture, KPMG, PwC, EY, Booz Allen. It's companies like that that you're going to end up going to work for via us. And those, very prominent consulting firms, not they're some of the best consulting firms, not only in the United States, but in the world. We can't send them mediocre people. So that's why we make this vetting process difficult. And again, it's not impossible for those that actually take the recruiters information and they take it to heart and they actually study what they get sent and they look at intro to coding. That pass rate goes from 34% up to 75%. So, like I said, preparing for this, if you prepare for your tech screen like it's a final exam, you'll pass. If you prepare for it, any other way, there's a great chance you're not going to pass. And in case somebody thinks, what happens if you do not pass it? Can you reapply? Yes, but you have to wait 90 days. So just in case somebody had that question. The next piece I'll talk about is the actual Tech Force by Design. So let's say you apply, you do well on the soft skills interview with the recruiter, and he sends you the aptitude test. You pass that. He sends you information to study for the tech screen, the oral quiz with one of our trainers, and you do well on that. You pass that. What exactly happens next? And so Tech Force by Design is almost exactly what it sounds like. We can train in over 76 different technologies. And so what happens is our clients come to us and they sit down with our training team because they have a need. And they look at that 76 technologies we can train in, almost like a restaurant menu. And they decide exactly what technologies they want taught to a cohort. And then we ask them, well, how many people do you want in a cohort? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 30? And then we go out and we recruit to that. So the thing is that we're not going to recruit anybody unless we have a position for them. And so that I want you to know that right up front, that we don't recruit and train just to recruit and train. We recruit after we've had a demand from a client. And once the client, and I'll give you an example, the Vanguard Group, the big mutual fund company up in Pennsylvania, they came to us last summer, and they said, all right, we want people to learn Java, but Ansible and Mern also. And so, guess what? That cohort, we taught them Java, Ansible, and Mern. So when they go on site, there is no more training that needs to be done by the firm that that Skillstorm is a client of, and we so when you hit the ground, after 1 week to 10 days, you're being productive because you've been taught exactly what they wanted taught, exactly the way they wanted it taught. So that's why you're productive so quickly. It's not a 3, 6, 9 month window where you're kind of getting up to speed. No, you're already up to speed. So once you get accepted into the program, you're going to be told by the recruiter when the start date is. The training most of the time is 12 weeks, and sometimes it's 16 weeks long, depending upon which technology it is. There is we do pay you during the training. We pay you $20 an hour to get trained. This is not where you're paying us. We pay you to get trained. Um, the training is virtual. You don't have to go to a location. You do it from your home. And the other is that um, once you finish the training, you'll go work as a Skillstorm contractor consultant for one of our clients, and you'll work for them for a period of 2 years. Once that 2 year period is up, we'll say to the client, hey, how do you like Anthony Hankerson? And if they say he's fantastic, we say, well, if you really like him that much, guess what? You can keep him. And we don't charge them any money for that. That is a free transaction that a Fortune 100 company wants an individual we have trained. Now that's really our goal, is that you become a full-time employee of that company. The program benefits, it's an accelerated career growth opportunity. Obviously, your salary at the first year will be right around 55,000, and then the second year it'll be right around 65,000. And but the biggest thing is, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and it's really the most important thing, and that is you've now got 2 years of work experience with a Fortune 500 company. And I really think that in the IT industry, more than any other I can think of, clients want to know where have you worked before they even look at where you went to school or how many certifications you have. They want to know, what have you worked on and for whom. And you start adding 2 years of work experience with a Fortune 500 company, all of a sudden your resume has a lot of muscle to it. And I really that is why we have so many applicants, and that is because we are the bridge between what you've learned in college. We're going to teach you. We're going to take you, and I like to say we're going to polish the stone. All right, you're a diamond. We're going to polish you up even more with our training team, and then you're going to go on site, and you're going to do so well on site that you're going to end up 24 months later as a full-time employee of that other firm. And that's really what Tech Force by Design is all about. At this point, there's other things I'm going to go over, but does anybody have any questions regarding that?
There's no questions in the chat.
Okay, no worries. And then hold on. The other thing I want to go over really quickly is that.
Oh, there is a question, John. Excuse me.
Okay.
How often do employees get offers from clients at the end of their 2 years?
Oh, that happens like 80% of the time. I think it's actually 78%, but yeah, it is very often, because you're a known commodity to them. Their company culture. They've watched you work for 2 years. They know how many sugars you put in your iced tea. So if they didn't, put it this way, if they don't like an individual, they can send them back to us. So just the mere fact that you're still there, that's a phenomenal sign. And when they have an opportunity, the only thing that might happen is maybe they don't have the budget to onboard you as a full-time employee. But if that's the case and they really like you, they might just say to us, hey, does Anthony Hankerson, would he consider going into a third year of the contract, and we can hire him, in May of next year. And guess what? We'll sit down with Anthony and we'll ask him, hey, are you willing to do this? If he is, then obviously you're more experienced. We charge them more money, and we pay you more money. So that would be the only time where that might not happen, or maybe they just don't have the budget. But if that's the case, as I said a couple of minutes ago, is that now you have a very marketable skill on your resume, and that is the fact you've got 2 years of IT experience at a Fortune 500 company. And now, like I said, your resume now has some muscle to it. Um, and, at the end of the 2 years, even if they want you to be a full-time employee and you've been working at, let's say, in San Antonio, Texas for one of our clients, um, and, you've always promised your fiance that, she grew up in Boise, Idaho, and you've got to, you promised her you'd move back. Um, there, once everything was said and done, um, guess what? Like I said, now you've got, that 2 years of work experience, and now you go back to Boise, and you sit down for a job interview, and they go like, "Well, where have you worked?" Well, I was just, I did 2 years of Java programming at Deloitte, and they're going to go like, "Have a seat." And so that is, not everybody is going to accept the offer, even if it's offered to them. The nice thing about Fortune 500 companies, though, is that they do have, guess what? They have lots of locations. Um, but the one thing, as I'm talking about locations, is that we almost, there are extenuating circumstances, obviously, but for the most part, everybody that comes to Skillstorm, you do have to be, willing to relocate for the opportunity. Where do we have a lot of business? We have a lot of business in the Carolinas, in Florida, obviously the Washington D.C. area, and Texas. I mean, we have other places. We have a little bit in Michigan, a little bit in Ohio, but the real big ones are the ones I just mentioned. And we do offer, um, in case you end up in a high cost of living area, a Boston, a New York, a DC, a Philly, um, a Chicago, we do offer a $5 an hour cost of living adjustment for individuals that end up there, because obviously we want to make sure that you're able to pay the rent and eat. And we understand that some places in the United States are a lot more expensive than others. They all seem to be on the East Coast for the most part, but anyway, or I should say the coasts, because San Francisco, LA, and Seattle are not inexpensive either. Um, let's see, um, does that answer that individual's questions, Anthony, or does he have follow on?
Yes, and we'll just follow up with the rest of the questions at the end of the session.
Okay. Um, so I do not come on to brief whether it's military or university level individuals, um, to talk about, um, Storm Surge, which it's our accelerator program, and it's basically it's our certification courses. So for whatever reason, if you feel that maybe Skillstorm's not for you, but you'd still like to get certified, um, we do offer the same courses that we train for the universities, that you can hop in a class. You do have to pay for that. I just want to, again, I'm not here to hawk classes to you, but I just want to make sure that you do realize that that is available. The other thing too is that when you go on site, if you do decide to come to Skillstorm, um, when you go on site, we call you a stormer when you go on site for one of our clients as a Skillstorm employee, as a consultant contractor, and we call you a stormer for life. And with that, stormer for life, you are able to take any one of our certification courses we have online, of which I think there's 16 of them, that you're allowed to take every and all of them for free. So if you really buckled down, by the way, that's like a $23,000 value if you took every one of them. We have AWS, we have Cyber, we have Salesforce, we have Appian, we have Pega, we have 5 CompTIA courses, we have 2 AI courses from Microsoft. Again, all those courses are available to you once you go on site with a client for us, and they're available to you for free for the rest of your life. Even if you go to work full time at Deloitte, you can still That's why we call you a stormer for life. You can still take those courses at no cost. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that that those courses are available to you for free for literally the rest of your life. Um, and and again, that's really the end of my presentation. And there was no presentation. I apologize. That's my fault. Um, but if anybody has any questions or you took notes, again, Anthony will send that to you. Um, uh, that the slide deck, he'll send that to you when this is all over with. If you have any, my contact information is on the last slide. So if you have any questions, if you have them now, please ask them. But if you have one, if you think about one tonight and you want to ask me, just email me, or guess what? You can call me on my phone. That is my personal and my work phone. So you know, don't don't be bashful. If you've got an urgent question you want to ask me, please do.
Uh, Thank you, John, for that
Oh,
going over.
Anthony, there's one. I'm sorry, I forgot one little small piece, and then we'll go to it. Is that um, Skillstorm is and has been since 2002 a TSSCI cleared facility. Uh, TS meaning top secret, SCI is secret compartmentalized information. That's a governmental clearance. We have the capability to obtain and retain security clearances. A lot of times, we have our clients ask us for a cohort, and they ask that cohort to all have a secret clearance, all have a public trust. Let's say if you're going to work for the IRS, as a because that's a client of one of our Fortune 500 companies, and because they do a lot of work with the government, all of those companies like Booz Allen and Deloitte and Accenture, and some of them it's BMI, some of it's public trust, some of it's secret, but we are currently recruiting for people that can get a government clearance. In order to get a government clearance, you do have to obviously have a fairly squeaky clean background. Now, we're also recruiting for regular commercial clients. Those are clients that don't do a lot of work with the U.S. government. People that aren't working for the U.S. government don't care if you have a clearance or not. Like if you go to work, if the Vanguard group's not calling us up, going like, "Oh, we need people with a clearance," but if you think that you could pass a governmental background check, that is because we are recruiting currently for a cohort in that, and that would be something that if that interests you, I would go ahead and apply in the next week or so, or if you haven't graduated yet, you could wait a little while, but just know that opportunity is almost there all the time. Um, on the commercial side, it's a little bit less, but the opportunity for individuals, if they feel like they could pass a governmental background check, um, and don't forget that, and I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but they're going to look at your background, and why do you need a governmental background check? Because you're going to be working on information that is confidential. Sometimes it's higher than confidential. It's actually secret or top secret, depending upon which clearance level you have. And what is the background check for? The U.S. government wants to know, is there anything in your background that would make you susceptible to an enemy of the United States? Meaning susceptible to either blackmail or to um, accepting favors from that entity, to be able to in exchange for information that you have available to you because of of what you're working on, and that's what the background check's all about. It's not there to bust your chops. It's not there to, um, you know, uh, make you feel bad or anything like that. It's just it is what it is. Now, with the higher the clearance, the more money you can make because there are some places in the United States that to go change a light bulb in the building, you need a TSSCI with a poly. Um, Now, a TSSCI poly costs a company almost $100,000 to get for a person. That's how much money they've got to invest in one person to get all that done. So that's why again, if you're interested in government work, it's just something that kind of comes along with it. Anyway, go ahead, Hank. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. So I do got a couple questions in the chat. First one, if you would like to come off mute, definitely go ahead and use the raise your hand function. I will unmute you then. But we do have a question, and I apologize if I don't get your name right, Marzio. Is the coding part required for cybersecurity too, or for software engineer only?
Um, it's required. It's required for both. It's more. Um, it's it's more. I want to say that on the tech screen, even with cyber, you're going to be asked some of those OOP questions. Um, but again, it's just a, it's a, I think to tell you, and I'm not laughing because, by the way, to everybody here, and Anthony already knows this, I am not an IT expert. I am not a programmer. I can talk about it. I've been doing it for 10 years. But if you had, as you just saw in my presentation, I'm lucky I can send Anthony a calendar invite. So um, the the thing is that our training team and our recruiters are going to send you the information to study that's going to help you pass. So uh, don't we make money by having people in the cohorts. So if we can't have cohorts with nobody in it. So yes, we want people to pass, but yet at the same token, we can't have mediocre people pass. So um, if if it's cyber, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I'd say 1 out of 20 cohorts might be cyber that we've had. And I've been in Skillstorm for 4 years. I think maybe we've had 2 or 3. The problem with the cyber community um, is that, and I'm being 100% transparent. The problem with the cyber community is they think entry level is 5 years experience, um, and it's really um, a tough nut to crack. Now, at the same token, we teach AWS DevOps. Now, what is that? That's we teach when we teach Amazon's cloud, we teach it with DevOps, which is a little bit of cyber, because our feeling is that if you're dealing in the cloud and you can't protect it, what good is it? Which is why we train it that way. Now, to answer I don't know if that answers your question or not. But yes, you do have to pass the aptitude test and the tech screen, um, as the training team's going to give it to you.
All right, thanks. Now, another question I have from Wesley is, when starting with a client, will we be on site with them?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. And you know what? This is just it has nothing to do with Skillstorm. It's got a little bit to do with WGU, just because that's where you're going to school. But I always, hear about individuals. This is kind of like just industry. I don't care what industry you're in, whether it's IT, accounting, marketing, sales. Um, but when you first start going into the workforce, right? Um, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, do you have remote work?" And I really think well, number one is every month that goes by, there's less and less remote work. More and more companies are demanding that you be on site at least 3 days a week, if not more. And I think, Anthony, you've probably heard the same thing. Um, is that more and more companies want to see you at work. Now, going back to my point is, you're brand new to an industry. We'll use IT because that's what we're talking about. You're brand new to the IT industry. Where do you want to be? It sounds cool. Oh, I'm going to be able to sit at home in my workout gear and I'm going to sit at my kitchen table. And I'm going to be able to work all day. My point is, you're much better off being at one of our clients surrounded by 25 other brilliant, software developers or cyber professionals, because guess what? You can lean over to them and ask questions. You can learn just by hearing people talk about it, during conversations. And so you are uh, really it's a disservice to yourself, I think, to try to find remote work when you're first starting out in the IT industry. Now, 15 years from now, you've got 14, 15 years of experience, and you get remote work. That's great. You know what? Because now you know almost everything that you're going to need to know. But the other thing about the IT industry is, it's kind of like the medical industry. It's always changing. The software that was the hot software 3.5, 4 years ago, it's now almost obsolete. And so now, you know, you've got to be around, and as things change, that you're continually learning and keeping up with it. Just like people in the medical community, they have to keep up with, new medicines that are coming out, new technologies that are coming out. And and so again, this is more just general job seeking information, and that is, um, be very wary of not working on site, because I just don't think you're going to learn nearly as much. And to tell you the truth, and Wall Street Journal did an article on it about a year ago, you're not as promotable. You know why? They don't see you. It's you're like your grandma used to say, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and definitely I appreciate that feedback, and I'm hoping that answered that question. We do have a few more in there. I know we got about 13 minutes before, so I want to get those in. When do you recommend applying for the Tech Force by Design for someone graduating the next spring?
For somebody that's going to graduate next spring, I would uh, probably 2 months out. 2 months around, 2 months prior to your graduation date, because it does take about 6 to 8 weeks, depending upon whether it's one of the cleared positions or one of the regular positions. Um, but you're looking at about 6 to 8 weeks prior to your graduation date that you'd want to apply and get the ball rolling.
All right, great. And Harpel, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Asked the same question, but should we first complete the intro to the coding course before applying for the Tech by Design?
I mean, if you wanted to take the whole course, it is 90 hours. Now, obviously, you can decide which portions to take, but if you did the whole 90-hour course, um, yeah, I would probably start that 5 weeks prior. So to go back to the last question that Hank asked me, is that, how far away from my graduation date should I apply? Well, if you want to do intro to coding, and I said 6 to 8 weeks, right? Well, if you do intro to coding, it's about 5 weeks to finish it. Because obviously you're also studying your regular stuff, so you don't have. It's not like you can sit down and do intro to coding for 8 hours a day. So if you're going to do it for a couple hours a day, hour and a half a day, couple hours on the weekend, I'd back it up another 5 weeks. So go 8 to 30, go like 13 weeks out, start intro to coding. And then, and again, this is just to kind of get the cobwebs out. You've been taking, computer science for 4 years, and, you might have had OOP, object-oriented programming, when you were a freshman, and all of a sudden, and why, the reason why that pass rate is so low, I'll tell you why. Because somebody graduates, from I don't know, UNC Charlotte, and they have a computer science degree, and they pass the aptitude test, and then our recruiter says, "Hey, we set you up for the tech screen on Tuesday," and the person says, "That's great," and they don't do any studying because then their opinion, well, I just graduated from UNC Charlotte with a computer science degree. Why would I need to study for some knucklehead trainer over at Skillstorm? Well, the knucklehead trainer over at Skillstorm teaches this 9 hours a day, and they're going to start asking you questions, and all of a sudden he's going to ask you an OOP question. You didn't have it, for the past 4 years because you had it your first semester of your freshman year, and now all of a sudden he's asking you very specific questions about OOP, and you're going like, "Oh, I used to know that," and then that's not the time to figure out I used to know that. The time to figure that out is get the cobwebs and the rust off prior to the tech screen. And again, I do not, this is not to make you scared and saying, oh, nobody can pass it. Yes, they can. If they study, I told you that percentage goes way up into the mid 70% range from 34%. So it's just a matter of people, again, just like I said, 30 minutes ago, prepare for the tech screen like it was a final exam.
All right. Another question from Wesley. When reviewing applicants, what are you mainly looking for on the resume? He also had another question as far as contract work. Would you like to see contract work on the resume when applying for the roles?
Oh, yeah. If you have any IT experience whatsoever, put it down. Absolutely. Put it down. It's going to help you, whether you go to Skillstorm or not. Absolutely. Even if you have work experience, working as a cashier at Target, put it down because we have clients that come to us sometimes and they say, I need a cohort to learn SAP and I want them to have 1 year of work experience. Is that 1 year of tech experience? We ask, and they go, no, we just want them to have 1 year of work experience. And then all of a sudden you're going like, oh shit, I've worked at Target, part time for the past 3 years. Put it down. If you've done some projects, IT projects, even if it's for a nonprofit, if you've done any IT projects as an intern, put it down because sometimes we have clients that come to us and they say, hey, guess what? I need somebody, I need a cohort to learn AWS DevOps, and I want them to have 1 year of tech experience. Well, guess what? Now we start going through the resumes and we're looking for people with, 1 year of tech experience. Now, if you've done 3 projects and it adds up to 13 months and it's 3 different projects, that, guess what? Your resume just got put in the good pile. So always put, and again, I would do this whether you're going to try to get the Skillstorm or not. Always put work experience down. If you do volunteer work, put it down. Because companies are looking for people that are like to work and like to work hard, and they have the initiative, to do that.
All right, thanks. We got one more question I see here left in the chat from Adrian. Do you have any roles for current students or internships?
Currently, we do not. Tech Force by Design, again, it's for uh, graduates. At some point, we might, stay in touch with Hank, because I stay in touch with him, because at some point I think we might have an apprenticeship. What's the difference between an apprenticeship and an internship? An apprenticeship leads to work, leads to a job. An internship is just something you do in the summertime. And it might lead to work, it might not, but an apprenticeship does lead to work. And we are working on an apprenticeship. When that's going to be completed, that's above my pay grade. I'm not in those discussions at the CEO, COO level. But believe me, when it becomes available, uh, WGU is going to be one of my first phone calls to Anthony to make sure that you all know about it.
Yes, and I'll definitely send those positions out once we receive them via email.
Yeah,
Um, we do have one last question
sure.
before we wrap it up from Ambar. Do you prefer the resume submitted to be formatted more as a federal resume or as a simple, longer than one page?
You know what? I do recommend one page unless you've got just, maybe you were in the military and you have, you're retired and now you're getting your degree from WGU. You've got a ton of work experience. Yeah, put that down. But we're not resume snobs. Just make sure, you've got basic stuff on there that if you do have a clearance, by the way, put it down. If you're relocatable, if you're willing to relocate anywhere in the United States, put it down. Um, that's not just for Skillstorm. That's for anybody. Um, and obviously have your contact information there. Um, I've gotten resumes before where it's got their name and there's nothing else to it. There's no phone number, there's no email, there's nothing. So don't forget that. And then the other is that just make sure that there's no misspelled words. Um, Other than that, the format, again, we're not resume snobs. I'm sure if you go to 10 different universities, every one of the career services departments probably has their format different than the university that's 30 miles away. So we're not concerned with that. We just make sure it looks nice. It doesn't have to meet a format.
Thank you for that insight, especially on resume writing. And I think that is the last question in our chat. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Also, would like to thank John for taking the time out to talk to us a little bit more about Skillstorm and sharing his insights. Again, this session is recorded, so we will be sending this out. So be on the lookout for that in the next 24 to 48 hours, along with our survey. And I'll be sure to include John's contact information along with the PowerPoints in the session as well. Thank you
And,
guys again, and please attend other sessions that we are having through Career Quest for the month of September.
and Anthony, one last thing. Thank you, everybody. And again, I apologize to Anthony and to the whole audience here for the lack of a PowerPoint. But the other is that good luck in your job search. Good luck in the rest of your schooling. And the other thing is don't doubt yourselves. You all are really bright and you're going to do well in your careers. And the other is just, work hard and really strive for the goals that you've set for yourself and you're going to accomplish those. All right.
All right.
Good
All
luck to
right.
everybody.
Thank you.